Welcome everyone to the Knitting by the Sea podcast. My name is Lisa and I am Saratoga Knitting on Instagram and on Ravelry, and I welcome you to my home here in Marblehead, Massachusetts. I live about 20 miles north of Boston in a little harbor town in a very, very old house, and I'm excited to welcome you here. It's been a while. We have a few things to do. I have a few finished objects to show you. I have some works in progress, of course. I have some spinning that I've been doing, and then I think we'll do some chatter at the end and let you know what's been going on and why it's been such a while since I've joined you here. But I'm really happy that you are here, so let's get started. Finished objects. I have a couple of them to show you. Not as many as I thought when I was looking at my pile today, but I do have some. It's been quite the time. So the first one, I have a couple of pairs of socks ready for you. As you know, or if you're new here, I travel into Boston 2 days a week. I work at a college in Boston, so I have to commute 2 days a week. The other 3 days get to work here at home, which is lovely. But I have about a 2-hour commute. So on the first part of the commute, it's a bus that I can pick up right here in Marblehead, and it goes to Wonderland, to the metro station, the T station as we call it here in the Boston area. And so I have about 45 minutes or so that I knit every morning that I go in, and that's really when I do my socks. I kind of leave those in my backpack and just have them as a go-to work project, and then I'll pull them out at my lunchtime as well. So the first pair that I have is called the Sockoween socks. It's not the pattern. It's that the Bakery Bears had a fun knit along for October, and we just all knit socks. You could knit socks that had the name was a Halloween theme, or the color pattern was a Halloween theme. So that's kind of what we did for the month of October, and it was really a lot of fun. And this is the sock that I did. This is no special pattern. It's just basically a slip stitch pattern. I just knit across maybe, I don't even know, 5 or 10 stitches, and then slip to one, and then the next row you knit. And so that's really, it really just makes just a little bit of an edge. And if you've known me or you've been here before, you know that I like to have just a little bit of interest when I am doing my socks. I'm not one of those folks who just likes to just knit a sock and go around and around and around. Because I tend to get bored. So I don't need a lot of interest. I mean, I do love to do lace socks occasionally, but I just need a little something to keep me going. So this is my usual sock, pattern that I do toe up, and then I do a short row heel, and then I go up to where the cuff is, and that's just the way I prefer to do my socks. I do have 2 of them. I won't show them to you, but these have been worn, so they are just a little bit worn, but they're ready to go into the wash. I just wanted to pull them out to show you. This was a lot of fun to do. So those were I'm calling them my Sockoween socks. The second pair that I have I really liked this pair as well. And this, I have my notes here in front of me. These are the Anne Elliott socks, and these are really fun. So Barnaby Knits, Emma Barnaby Knits on Instagram. She has the Tiny Desk Knitting podcast, and she has kind of set herself a goal to design 12 sock patterns in 1 year. And so she's been doing that. I don't even know how many we've done so far. Certainly 4 or 5 anyway so far, and they're all based on characters in Jane Austen books. So that's kind of fun. And she has a group of test knitters, and so we get every month and a half, maybe a new pattern will pop into our mailboxes, and we get to cast them on. It always seems to be just when I'm getting to the point where I need another sock pattern, one of those emails pops in from Emma into my mailbox. But this was a really fun pattern. It's a texture pattern. Sometimes she's been doing lace patterns, sometimes she's been doing texture patterns. This is a really pretty texture pattern, and I actually did this with Knit Picks Felici, so it's a striping yarn as well. But I think it came out really great. And again, toe up. Emma's really great. She writes her patterns. Sometimes she writes them toe up, sometimes she writes them cuff down, but she gives the test knitters the freedom to just knit it the way we want to knit it, because really what she's looking for is testing of the particular pattern. So it doesn't really matter to her what the actual construction of the sock is. So that really is very freeing. It's fun. It's fun for me. So this is great. It's just a texture pattern, and I think it looks really fun in the Knit Picks Felice. I got a couple. They were on sale. I think I have 2 more balls, not a different striping pattern, but this was really fun. Fun to go to. And then on the back, I normally do this on the back. I know a lot of people don't, but I tend to just do the back plain stockinette. I only have the pattern on the front. I don't know when I started doing that, but I just seem to keep going. And I think part of it's I'm just in a rhythm because I'm doing toe up, so I'm in a rhythm from doing that on the toe on the foot. And then I move into the short row heel, and then I just keep going the same way. I have discovered sometimes when I've gone into my sock drawer that I'll pull out a pair of socks and I'll realize that one of the socks I've done the pattern all the way around the leg, and the other one I didn't do the pattern all around the leg. I did it like this. So, but again, it's just knitting, and no one is the wiser. No one is looking at your socks underneath your pants saying, "Oh my gosh, those two are very different." But this was really super great. So these patterns are not out yet. I think hopefully they'll be out later this year, and I'll give you a shout when they do come out. I'm not sure if she's going to, release them one at a time or as a year-long collection, but I've had a great time doing every single one of them. The patterns are really great and very interesting to knit. So I'm looking forward to my next email, and I'll let you know when I put the next one on the needles. But this was a lot of fun. And again, I do have 2. I just am showing you one. The third project that I finished is these are called the Wolf Moon Mitts, and they are by Elspeth Willis, who is Curio Stitches on Instagram. And I've known about Ellie for a long time. She lives in England, and she has in the past been dyeing yarn. I think she's coming back to dyeing yarn again. And she has recently been really creating a lot of really beautiful patterns. This is, and we had a knit along with My Wool Mitten and Susan in Ireland. I'll put the podcast names up here on the screen. But we had a month-long knit along of any of Ellie's projects, and I think that was in November or December. And so I actually had picked the Wolf Moon Mitt. Sorry about that. And what I really like about these is that they are a fingerless and thumbless mitt. So here it is here. Now I know this is beautifully patterned, and it's hard to see because I used some leftover Nutiden yarn, and this is just kind of what I wanted to use, but it's hard to see the pattern, but it's really lovely. And I'll put the link to all of these patterns in the description box below, so you can take a look and see the different the different samples of this pattern. But they're great. I have 2 of them, and these are just so convenient sometimes. I didn't have to worry about actually knitting a thumb gusset, and just leaves your thumb free. And these things are great. I mean, you could do your own mitts totally, because basically what you end up doing if you're not doing a thumb gusset, what happens is that when you get to the point where you want to have the opening for the thumb, you just start knitting back and forth rather than knitting in the round. So if you're doing stockinette, you're just going to knit and then purl back and then turn it and knit back around until you have enough space for your thumb, and then you just join it up in the round again and go on up to your ribbing for the fingers. So it's actually a super simple construction, and I've just done these before on my own, done it this way, which is really fun as well. But I really liked Ellie's pattern and wanted to participate in that knit along with them, and super happy. Great pattern, and you can check her out because she has some other really cool patterns as well. And I know she's getting into some sweater patterns, and she's got some hat patterns, and so excellent person to check out. My last finished object. I feel like I should have finished more, but I haven't. A lot of these small little projects, and again, there's probably a reason for that, as we'll get to later. But my last project to show you is really fun. This is called the Wave and Box Cowl, and it's by Amy Lee, who is Knit Spin Cake on Ravelry. And again, I followed Amy for a long time. And I ran across this pattern. I actually didn't realize when I had favorited it that she was the designer on it until I pulled it back up again. And the reason I pulled it out is because I had two beautiful, gorgeous. I'll put the information up here on the thing. I can't read my own handwriting. I'm sure this happens to everybody, but I'll put where the yarn came from up here on the screen as well. And I purchased this yarn at the New England Fiber Fest when I met up with my sister-in-law Tracy back in November, and we went and I bought these two gorgeous skeins of yarn. One was yellow and one was red, and I just really liked them. Like, you know, liked putting them together. It's probably not a color combination anybody would think I'd normally put together, but I was like, you know, I love these two yarn colors together. I'm going to do something with them. And my sister-in-law Tracy bought some beautiful white cream colored yarn from them, and it also has made this beautiful cabled cowl. And yeah, it was fun because I also follow the farm on Instagram, so you know, it's just really nice to get to meet people in person and then purchase something where you know I don't know the sheep, I've never been there, but I know what goes into making their yarn. So this is the little cowl. It's so cute, and it's super easy. It looks like it's pretty complicated making like these little waves, but it really isn't. They just kind of normally happen because you're slipping the stitches with your little box, and so basically it kind of pulls everything together. But it's super cute, and I love it. I just love it. It was like the perfect combination of the yarn, and this has been washed and blocked, and so it's just beautifully soft. I haven't worn it yet, but I probably will. I'll pull it out this week, and I am really super happy with this. This was a really great. So, you know, if you have an opportunity or have a couple of skeins of yarn, I probably only used half of each of the skeins, so I've got plenty of the yarn left. But this is a really fun and great pattern to go to. So that's all I finished. I think. Yes, that's all I finished for right now. So let's move on to some works in progress. Works in progress. These I have quite a few of. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I am wearing the Brentsfield vest because I know someone will ask. This is a vest I knit a couple of years ago now. It's by Isolde Teague, and it's a Fair Isle vest, and it was really fun because it's steeking here in the neckline, and you had to steek for both of the armholes as well. But I really just love this, and it's been it really is a staple in my wardrobe, and I really enjoy this, and this will come back up in conversation in a little while. So my first project that I have been working on for a little bit is called oops, I'm going to drop something. It's called the Wintry Lake Rep by Greta Menson, and it is just gorgeous. If you like cables, Greta is the designer for you. She does a lot of wraps and scarves and things, and most of them have some type of a cable, aspect to them. Now let me see this is the front here. So this will be a very long wintry wrap, and it is just gorgeous. We'll see if you can see that it has these beautiful cables that travel over and down and around, and it's just gorgeous. I probably am, I think I'm probably at about the halfway point right now, and these cables will even just pop right out when I'm finally finished and get to block this, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is so enjoyable. You'd think that cables are hard, but they're really not. I also cable without a cable needle. I learned how to do that years and years ago. It's really simple to do. You know, there's a lot of YouTube videos on how to do that now. So definitely, if you're somebody that likes cables or is afraid of cables and doesn't want to floof around with a cable needle, take a look at that. You can usually do that for 2, 3, 4, certainly 2, 3, 4, maybe even up to 6 turns cable, so six stitches. So you've got 3 going one way and 3 in the front and 3 in the back. When you get a little bit beyond that, it gets a little bit harder. So for most of these, I'm doing without a cable needle. There are a couple of larger cables down here, if you can see them. So that actually is a 12 a 12 stitch cable. For that one, I do use a cable needle because it then just gets too unwieldy to do that without the cable needle. But I can do the other ones without, and that just makes it kind of go quickly. You're not reaching for a needle and sticking it in and doing something different. So if you're interested in that, there's tons of there's lots of videos out there on how to do it, and I highly recommend it. So I think this is just beautiful. And I was going to show you, if I did not, I dropped it, but I'll grab it here. I'm not sure if you remember or if I talked about this on the last podcast. I might have. But I started this a while ago. I actually started this back in September because I was starting it when we were out in Saratoga for my niece Kate's wedding. And I did start it at that time. And this is the little swatch that I did when I actually started it. And I'm not sure if it'll come across because the yarn is so dark. But it's very kind of flimsy, and it just didn't feel substantial. The yarn is gorgeous. The yarn is the, Cloudborne Fibers Superwash Merino Worsted Twist. So it is really gorgeous, but it does have some drape with it. So I liked the definition that I was getting with this particular needle size, but I wasn't really happy. It was just kind of felt too stretchy and loose, and I really wanted something a little, a kind of like that felt a little bit heavier. So what I decided to do, because I have some cones hanging, well, I have some cones hanging around, but I do have a few cones. I think this is this is one that I got from Webb's, and it's just basically a lace weight cone of black. And so I use this oftentimes to apply fiber with, and I'm going to show you some of that later too. But what I decided to do, I kind of thought, I'm like, let me try and see what the texture feels like and looks like if I combine this lace with this Cloudborne yarn. And that's exactly what I did. And I was so happy. As soon as I cast that on and started knitting with the two yarns, I was like, this is just so, it feels thicker, it feels stronger. It just feels cozier than it did just with the yarn, the plain yarn itself. And there is no way, you can't really tell that this has that lace in it. It really has not changed the color at all. The brown is so dominant. And if anything, it's just made it richer, I think, in color. So just a little tip, if you're doing something like that, a lot of times you can pull up just a different weight yarn, and that's really going to make a difference, rather than trying to figure out a better needle size, trying to figure out completely different yarn. This was a really good option for me, where I had to use what was in my stash, and I'm really, really happy with the fabric that is coming out with this. So this is a long-term project. This will not be done anytime soon. When did I? September, October, November, December, January. So I've been working on this on and off for about 4 months. So give me another 4 months or so, and I'll probably be much closer to being toward the end of it. But I'm not in any particular rush for this. This is just an enjoyable knit, and now it's big enough that it can keep me warm on the couch when I pull it out to work on it. So it's really, really beautiful. I'm super happy with this one. Now let me look at my notes. Oh yes, my second project that I wanted to show you. Again, this is a really fun one. I am a patron of the Fruity Knitting podcast. If you don't watch it, you should. It's just great. It's a mom and daughter now who do it together, and they travel all over Europe, and they interview designers and artists, and it's really just it's a lovely podcast, and I highly recommend it. But I am a patron of theirs, and they interviewed at one point. They interviewed Georgia Farrell, who's a knitwear designer in England, and she does a lot of geometric shape ideas, and she had there was a patron discount for one of her patterns, and then actually a yarn kit from Rowan, and so I splurged and I actually got that, and I'm really, really happy with it. So this project is called the Lauderdale Scarf, I'll try to put a picture of it up, the actual piece up here. But this is the yarn that she knitted in, and the color that she knitted in. I really love it. So here it is. Again, this is a long-term project because it is lace. So I forget how many rows of lace there are, but you do need to think about this. This is not something that you could just kind of sit down in front of a Netflix show and not really think about it and do it. But it is gorgeous. Let's see if you can see. It ends up kind of like in a little bit of a point here, but each of the sections are cables and it's kind of like parallelograms, but the cables they face the different ways. And it's just super pretty. And this Rowan yarn is just so soft to work with. So I'm really, really happy with this. You know, I don't even remember now what it is. It's 10 or 14 row repeat. So what I've ended up doing with this is that I will try to, when I get up early in the morning, most mornings, even if I'm working at home. So what I will do, I will go downstairs and I'll have my cup of coffee to start the day, as we do. And I'll usually put on a podcast and I will pick this up because then I'll have no distractions. I won't have any distractions around me, and I will have quiet time to concentrate, and I'll try to get one repeat done at a time. I find on something like this, if I can't sit down and go, I'm going to work on this for 4 hours and I'm going to do 6 repeats of this. I really can't, because I definitely lose my concentration when doing something like this. If I have to follow a chart with a lace pattern, I will lose my concentration and then I'll make mistakes. And this is really one of those things. I think I had read in someone else who had knit this on the Ravelry page, that it's a project that you really have to count your stitches after every row, because if you miss a yarn over or knit 2 together, you're off, and then the rest will be off. And I have found that to be true because I did do that once or twice. So what I know myself. So what I will do is a maximum of 1 repeat per a day that I'm going to sit down and do this, or that a morning if I pick this up, I'm going to only do 1 repeat of the pattern. So again, no rush on this. It's just lovely, enjoyable knitting. I am a process knitter. I am not super anxious for the end product to come. I enjoy the process of the knitting and having the yarn and looking at the color and doing the work and kind of looking at your hands and like being amazed at wow. I've actually created this. So this has just kind of been my pleasure in the early morning to work on. Really enjoying it. Oop, of course, I lost the ball. I don't want to do that. But let me put that back away. And my next project is socks. Here's my current pair of socks that I am working on, and I am using a very precious. I wish you didn't think of all of our yarn as precious, but this is a very precious skein of yarn. It is one of the last ones that I got from O Loops before she stopped dyeing yarn. So this is really beautiful. I'm not sure if you can see, but there's a ton of stellina in this, so it sparkles. It's amazing. I actually had started something else with this and I just wasn't into the pattern. So I decided to pull it out. And when I finished my other pairs of socks, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make a pair of socks out of those. I really like knitting with this yarn, and I think this is going to be really beautiful. And these are the crunkled socks by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. And I'm just going to pull them over here. I won't put them on a sock blocker, but I'll put them out so you can see. It's a really simple texture pattern. Again, so it really doesn't matter. They look really fun in person. You know, if you had a plain color yarn, you'd be able to see the patterning a little bit more. But it's really just very simple knits and pearls that change over. So it's really fun, and I like to do that. And then you can see the actual how much of the, it's kind of not so totally striping, but kind of striping and kind of variegated all at the same time. There's a lot of the stripes of that purple and pink in here, but I'm really loving this. So this is my current sock project for the bus. I've already done the short row heel, and I am on the way on the leg, and this is the first sock, so I'll have the second sock to do. The Bakery Bears this year, also for their patrons, are doing a year-long sock along, and I think the idea is to knit a pair of socks each month, and put them away, so that January 1st next year you'll have 12 brand new pairs of socks to pull out and start putting into rotation. So that's kind of fun. So I'll probably finish when I finish these. I'll put these away and move on to my next pair. But these are really fun. Working on the bus, pretty much socks, and at work. Let's see, another pattern. This is let me see. Yeah, this pattern. I'll pull this one out. This is called the Cowl Simplest, I think. I'll put the name and I'll put an actual picture of it up here. I've had this pattern in my in my queue, in my favorites for quite a long time, and I'd always look at it and go, no, I'll come back to that some other time. But I got an order of Nutiden yarn. So Nutiden is the unspun yarn from Sweden. I'm going to show you, and again, this is really I've got two skeins that I'm working two groups that I'm working with. So this one has like a different color in the middle of it when I get there. I think this one I think I've already moved from the brown into this main color. So it's kind of a bluish, greenish, pinkish, just very muted colors. I am using 2 strands together. And again, if you haven't worked with, so this is unspun yarn. So this is like, I get this wrong, Plutalopi, not Lopi, one of those 2 Icelandic yarns is unspun, and you get them in a plate. That's what they're called when they come in unspun. They're called a plate, not a skein. And so it's very, it is spun, but it's very, 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 very lightly spun. So it's very easy to pull apart. And I think some people get really nervous about that because they're like, oh, if I pull too hard, it's going to pull apart. But it really doesn't matter. It's just, you just hold it together, or, do a really gentle split splice on it, and it comes right back. It's not an issue. I can see here on the end, I'll show you how easy. See this yarn, and it just, if you pull on it, it will just pull apart, because it really is, it's not spun yarn, very, very, very lightly, but it's not completely fiber either. So it's kind of in the middle of it, which is really fun and interesting to work with. I've worked with this yarn before, and I really do enjoy it. And again, I'll put the picture of this. This is a cowl that starts out flat, and then it gets attached, and it comes down kind of around your shoulders. And I thought this would be a really nice one to use the Nutiden yarn for. And this is what it's looking like so far. So this is these 2 yarns combined together. So you never quite know what the color is going to be, but I think this is perfectly fine. I have probably another, 4 inches or so to go before I will join it. I'll join it in the round, and then you work from there. So this will be the neck, and then it comes down from there. It's a very loose, open kind of cowl to just kind of throw on your shoulders. And as I said, I've looked at this pattern a lot, and I just haven't had the yarn that's kind of struck me to say, this is what I want this to be. So I decided to do that, and I started this a couple of weeks ago, and I'm really enjoying this. It's kind of like a fisherman's rib right now. So you're getting those ridges of knit and then the purl. It's not brioche. It looks kind of like brioche, but it is not brioche. Brioche bothers my brain. I can do 1 color brioche. That's pretty good. But this is not 2 color. This would not be 2 color brioche anyway. But doing brioche with 2 colors, it really just hurts my brain too much. And if you drop something, it's very hard to get it back the way it's supposed to be. Or for me anyway. I shouldn't say that in general. But so I don't ever do brioche. I had a little while where I kept trying to do it, and it just wasn't making me happy, and there's no reason for me to do that. There's no reason to do that in the crafting projects. You want to enjoy your crafting projects. They're supposed to make you feel happy. So this I'm really happy with. I just kind of, picked this. This is kind of what I tend to pick up on Saturday afternoons when Mark has a guitar lesson, because he and Luigi are downstairs, and I'll just come up and put a show on and pick that one up. So really happy. Again, no race on that one. I'm just going to keep on working. The project that is my main project and that I am almost done with is called the Agnes Pullover by Camilla Vad. And I love it. I can't even tell you. I love it. I fell in love with the picture of this pattern when it came out. I favorited it. I was like, I want to make this pattern. And so I did. And I was able to find the colors that are matched pretty well. The colors that Camilla used in her original pattern, which is great. And I love it because if I post a picture of this up on Instagram, I always get comments, "What great colors you've chosen." And I didn't choose these colors, the designer did, but yes, they are absolutely great. And I'm glad that I went with the colors that she had. I just think they're going to be so interesting. And in fact, my husband was like, "I don't know if that brown really suits you." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's just one of the colors in the midst of it. You won't even like notice that." And now that I've done it and he can see the rest, he's like, "All right, no, I understand what you were saying." So I've actually finished the body of this and I'm on to the first sleeve and I'm almost done with the first sleeve. So that's really great. The fun part, this is a top-down sweater and the fun is all at the beginning, which again is, it makes it interesting. So this is the sweater. I just love it. I can't wait to see it blocked out. That's even the back. I can tell that that's the back. This is the front. But isn't it gorgeous? I just think this is going to be so much fun and make such a statement when you go out and wear it. And the contrast with the light gray is just going to be just beautiful. And as I said, I'm already down. I'm almost to the cuff of one sleeve, and then I have to do the other sleeve. So this won't, I won't be done tomorrow, but it won't take that much longer to complete it. And I'm really happy. It just has some basic ribbing down here at the bottom. I think I made it a little longer than the pattern. I like to have my sweaters a little bit longer. I am not a cropped girl at all. Not that this is cropped, but I like to have my sweaters good and long for me. But yeah, this is so beautiful. This yarn is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. It's sport weight. And like I said, they just have so many colors and I was able to match the colors that I wanted. And because there's this color work, it looks like a lot, but it's really doesn't use a lot of yarn. So I'm going to be able to use that other, the leftovers of this for a cowl pattern that I'm going to be starting probably over the next week or so. So that's really kind of fun. So I am super happy with this. The pattern is so well written, so easy to understand. The sizing is great. And I am just loving this. It looks like a stained glass window every time I take it out. I cannot wait to get this done and to be able to show you and to wear it. So yeah, that's my main project that I'm working on. This is what you kind of get to a point in a project, well, I do anyway, where suddenly it's like, okay, I'm almost there. I'm going to concentrate on this. And that's where I am with this sweater. I'm just like, this is what I pull out at night. We sit down after dinner and that's the one I'm going to get done and be super happy with. And then after that, I think the reason I'm getting that done is I think that I know that I am actually going to cast on, I won't do it until that's done. But I'm going to cast on the Roosty Tank Top by Ella Gordon. Dan of the Bakery Bears is knitting a Roosty Top for Kay. And this is the first time he's delved into, or I think he's done some practice, but now he's really delving into a garment that is Fair Isle, and so color work and in fingering weight yarn. So that's basically what this is. So the Roosty Top, I'll put a picture in here, but by Ella Gordon, and it is. I think Kay had picked out some more rustic browns and gold colors. The pattern itself, the pattern project has lots of gold. Has lots of like turquoise and blue and yellow and some reds in it. And so I already have a top that's, a pullover that is a vest that has these more winter colors. So I'm going to go with the colors that Ella chose for first. And I have them, and I have them in my stash. I'm pointing back here at my closet. I have them ready to go. but I'm holding off until I finish the Agnes sweater. But that'll be kind of fun to knit along with Dan on that project. And again, it's the same type of thing. It's a steek for the neck, and it's a steek for the armholes. This was my very first steeking project. I'm not sure why I chose it, because if you steek a sweater, you just have one steek just up the middle, and you just need to cut that. But this has 3. But I survived, and it came out great. It was not difficult. So I feel like I have that monkey off my back. I've done that once, so I will be able to do that again with the Roosty vest. And I'm really looking forward to it. I think that will be so much fun, and hopefully maybe by the next time I will have started that, and I'll be able to show you what that is all about. So those are my works in progress. So let's move on to some spinning. Spinning. I know that if you've watched me in the past, you know that one of my goals this year, I really want to get back to spinning. I have a lovely spinning wheel, a Louette Victoria. It's sitting in my living room, and I have lovely fiber, and I just tend to forget because I get caught up in my knitting projects. But I really enjoy spinning. It's a different craft, and it's a different pace to spin, but I really enjoy it. I enjoy watching the colors pass through my fingers. I enjoy working with different types of fiber. I enjoy thinking about what the fiber is going to become. And I purchased myself a woolly winder, so a lot of that, it makes it much more much easier to hop on the wheel and do that. So I have been trying to do that as well. I find it to be very relaxing, and it's perfect for not necessarily watching. I can watch something. I don't need to. I find myself, I don't need to watch my hands when I spin. I don't watch my hands when I knit either. And I know some people are like, how can you do that? But I've just been doing it for so long, and I've been spinning for so long that I'm not one of those folks that needs to experiment a lot with different ways of spinning, or spending a lot of time thinking about exactly what kind of weight yarn I want. I know what my wheel can do, and I know what my go-to is, and so I'm really happy. I'm just happy doing that. So I had bought some beautiful braids from Wound Up Fiber Arts, and I'm pretty sure she's up in Maine. I'll put her information in the down bar as well. You can see. Your card. But I ordered 2 braids. The first one was called Spooky Walk, and the second one is called Dark Brew, and they are superwash merino, and they're just beautiful. So this is the Spooky Walk, and I have this all wound up and plied. And this was just really fun. I didn't split it in any particular way. I just, I split the braid in 2, and then just I split it I split it in half, and then just split the braids again into 4, each of those 4s, and then I just picked them up as I came to them and spun them. So no particular idea on the color work on this one, but it just came as it came. So what I'd like to do is knit socks with this. I should have plenty. I'll find out when I unwind it off. I'll weigh it and see, make sure I have enough yarn. But what I did, because this is what I was talking about before, because I want to get the maximum amount out of the fiber, I did not ply this with itself, because then I would not have had enough. So again, I have another cone I think I got from Webb's, and this is a cone with of lace weight, but that has nylon in it. So this will actually make the merino strong as well. So I can use that. So I don't know if you can see that, but it is plied together with the lace. And this is going to be great. I have not taken it, obviously I've not taken off the bobbin yet, as you can see. This will be a little bit of a time consuming, but I'll get out my nitty knotty and take that off, take this off the bobbin. I finished this last week, and I like to let it kind of sit on the bobbin for a little bit before taking it off. I also don't need this. I'm not in any hurry for this yet, because I still have my other pair of socks that I'm going to finish. So these will be really fun, beautiful, beautiful socks. I'm really looking forward to that. Second thing that I did that I has come off of the bobbin already is that when at the time I purchased the unspun yarn that you saw from New Teden, I also purchased a bag of fiber from her, and it is a bag of fiber. It is so much. I always forget because it kind of comes, they shrink wrap it, and it kind of comes shrink wrapped. I've had fiber from her before, so I should have known this, and I opened it up and it was like, woof. So I have a ton of it, and it's great. It's absolutely great. So and it's just so much fun to spin because there's still, there's little bits of veg matter in there. So I'm like, I have little bits of Sweden falling out onto my floor when I'm doing this. It's a beautiful, gorgeous blue color, and this is what it is. A little dark on here, but it is pretty dark. It's going to be beautiful. I'm going to spin it up. I anticipate I will have enough for a sweater for this. I don't have a particular sweater in mind, but as I spin this up, that's what's in my head, is that I will have enough for a sweater. And again, this is the same kind of thing. I am going to maximize the amount that I have, and I am plying this not with itself, but I'm plying it with that black, the cone of black lace that I showed you before. You literally cannot see it in here at all. It's just going to provide a little bit of strength, and it just allows me, a little bit of depth of color in it with that black against the beautiful blue, and it will allow me to really grab a whole lot of yardage rather than trying to ply this together. Not that that's wrong with that. That would be beautiful as well, but I'm going to see if I can maximize my mileage on this. But so this is the first one that came off the bobbin, and I washed and did this up. It's really beautiful. It's it's definitely a worsted weight. It blooms. It certainly blooms. But yeah, so I'll find a great pattern for that when I get to that. But I was really happy to do this, and the bag is still downstairs, and I've barely I've barely touched the top of it. So this is another one, a long-term project, but I really enjoy keeping at it. This is the other braid that I got from Wound Up Fiber Arts, and I think this is the dark brew one. So here it is. This is my other one that is adjacent to my spinning adjacent, wheel adjacent, however you would say that. So this is really pretty too. I just love these really deep, dark fall colors. This will be really nice when I get ready to do that as well. So this will be coming up. Hopefully, I will be able to get that going. So I'm pretty excited about this one as well. So soft. Again, it's merino, so it is just so soft, and it's a joy. It's like spinning butter. It's just a joy to spin. It's very, it's very different. And which is kind of the thing I like to do. I like this merino is just, like I said, it's like spinning butter. It's just, coming home, putting it, and you're just on autopilot with it. It's beautiful. You're watching these beautiful colors go through your fingers. The yarn from New Teden is very different. It's a little bit shorter in the staple length, and it's because it's highly unprocessed. There's like slubs, a little bit of slubbiness to it, which is fine. It's toothier, so it's there's still lanolin in it from the sheep, so it really is it really is a kind of a down to earth fiber, and it's extremely not processed at all the way that the way the merino is processed. So it is just a very rustic yarn fiber to spin. So it does take a little more time. You can't just that one you can't be on autopilot, because you really need to make sure that your fiber isn't going to split out on you at some point in time. But it takes a little bit more attention. But again, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful unto itself, and I'm so happy spinning it. And then this is just a little bit. I'm just going to show you just a little bit of this, and this is oh geez, what did I just look at? I'll put what it is. I always want to say that it's Corriedale, and I don't think it is. It's a Rambouillet. Anyway, this is beautiful, beautiful fiber from Carol of Foster Sheep Farm, and I have a bag full of this. A bag full. I've spun some of it already. I used it in a pair of socks last year, and I am spinning more of it now, and I am anticipating spinning this for a blanket that I'm going to be making with Patricia Knitography Farm, and we're going to be doing over the year this just beautiful Norwegian traditional little like a lap blanket, and that's what I want to use this. I want to use this as the base for the blanket. This again, it's very different. Looks very different than the merino. It's not as smooth as the merino, but this is like spinning butter in a different way. It's hard to describe. It's a little bit toothier, but it gives you no problems whatsoever in spinning the staple length. I can show you what that. So this gives you an idea. So if you just pull a piece from fiber, so this is about the staple length of it. So this is a really good staple length for sitting at your wheel. It's not too short. Sometimes you'll get some fiber has really short, and you're always like pulling it because it tends to want to break in those small little pieces. This is a very nice long staple length, so that you have time. That's why it's easier to spin, because it's not trying to pull away from itself, because this is all one staple length. So I am really enjoying this. This is back on my wheel. I am really enjoying this. So I'm trying to get down and do that as well. This one, I have tons of it, and I will ply it with itself. So that shouldn't be a problem, because again, it's going to just be for a lap blanket. So I'm really happy with this. But I love using this because I know the sheep that this came from. It's from Carol's a friend of ours. Used to kind of be my local yarn shop back when I lived in Saratoga. So I'm very happy with this. Super excited, and I am just really happy to be back spinning at my wheel. So I think that's it. So now we can move on to some chatter on what's been going on here. So what has been happening here? It's always, why do I say it's always quite a lot? Why is it always quite a lot? I really would like to have some nice, quiet, peaceful time ahead. Oh my goodness, but it has not been that way. I think 2 days after I recorded the last podcast, I caught COVID. Very, very special. And I caught it from my 90-year-old in-laws. They had gone to Maine for 3 days and came back, and my father-in-law had a cold, and they thought it was just a cold. And then my mother-in-law started getting it as well. And then they asked me to help them do a COVID test just to be sure. And I went over there at night after having gone out to dinner with a glass of wine, was not even thinking. I was just thinking in my head, it's just a cold. They were actually in our house the day before too, sneezing. So I'm like, it's just a cold. Because neither of them they weren't getting like super sick. So I went over, sat down at the table, gave my father-in-law a COVID test. By the time I got the package out for my mother-in-law, his had already gone bright 2 lines. I mean, like there was zero question. And I was like, it's too late. Didn't have a mask with me. And he's just sitting there sneezing at the table. I'm like, I am a goner. I'm totally a goner. My mother-in-law came back negative, and she was all excited. She's like, oh, I'm negative. Isn't that great? And I was like, no, you're not, Joan. You're not negative. It's just you're negative right now. You're going to be positive by tomorrow. You need to call your doctor tomorrow morning. And so she called her doctor, and I guess my father-in-law had been symptomatic for too many days, but since she hadn't been, they gave her the Paxlovid. They started on that right away. And luckily, neither of them got super sick. I mean, they weren't feeling great, but they weren't bad enough to have to go to the hospital or anything. And then, of course, the next day, I started to have a little bit of a cough. And of course, my husband is like, oh no, it's too soon. It's too soon. I'm like, I don't know. And then the next day, I just didn't feel that great. And so for sure, I was like, I got to take a test. And yeah, of course, it came back positive. And that was on a Friday night. Like, great. So I actually called my doctor, and they couldn't see me, but they suggested that I call. Massachusetts has a telehealth system specifically for COVID. people who have COVID. So she suggested I do that. And I did that on the next morning on Saturday, and it worked great. I was so surprised. You put your information in. So you put your age and whether you have any secondary considerations that they take into account. So based on my age, and also because I have asthma, the doctor called me back like literally within 10 minutes of putting the request in. And he's like, yep, Lisa, yep. You've tested yourself positive. He's like, we're going to start you on the Paxlovid. So they had the prescription for that right away. And I started taking that. So here in the States, it's an antiviral medication that you have to take for 5 days, twice a day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon, in the evening. And it was terrible. For me, it's a side effect for some people with this medication. It makes your mouth taste terrible. And I thought the first time I did it, probably within 2 hours after taking it, I was taking my temperature again because I was also running a low fever. And I'm like, oh, what's wrong with this thermometer? This is terrible. I'm like washing the thermometer off. I'm like, why is that? And then that taste didn't go away. And then, the light bulb went off and I was like, I gotta look up the side effects. And for sure, one of the side effects is that it makes your mouth taste terrible. And it really did. For me, it was this horrific metallic taste in my mouth. And it would kind of, it would be there about an hour afterwards. It would still be there, but it would taper off. And then you'd have to take the medication again, and then it would come back again. So I had to take it for 5 days. I was sick. Certainly wasn't as bad as I could be, but I could feel it in my lungs. I didn't have a lot of sneezing. I had a dry cough, and I kept getting fever, and I had a lot of body aches that my body just did not feel well at all. But I mean, I'm so thankful that I've had all the vaccines and was able to take that antiviral medication, because I definitely, if I had gotten COVID at the very beginning of it, I for sure would have been in the hospital. I definitely I could feel the tightness in my lungs from it. But thankfully I survived that, and nobody else got it. Mark and Sophia did not catch it. We live in this tiny little house, so that there's no other room for me to isolate in, and Mark was like, well, you've been here already. It's like too late for me. So I was like, I could sleep on the couch. He's like, no, you down there, it's still in the air. We're going to get it. So Sophia did stay pretty much upstairs, and she would, I would wear a mask around the house. It's not like I would just kind of go out willy-nilly, but it was just not pleasant. But I'm thankful that neither one of them caught it at the same time. But to catch it from my 90-year-old in-laws, I could not believe it. I travel to Boston all the time. I could see getting it on the T or on the bus or from a student, but from my 90-year-old in-laws, no, that was not expected. That was not expected. But they also did not get super sick. It was just as if they had a real bad cold. My father-in-law, he was just, it was like he had allergies. He was walking around. He was fine. My mother-in-law was a little bit sicker. She also has pulmonary problems, so they were more concerned with her, but it never got that bad for her. So that was that. That was the end of September. And then October came. You can fast forward. I need to tell you about something, and it's not pretty, so I don't want to trigger anybody, but in October, I work at my in-laws the days that I'm home. So I just use one of the bedrooms upstairs. So it's like my office space. It's not a bad idea because it makes me like get up, get dressed, take a shower. I have to actually go somewhere else rather than be here in the house for my work. But it was a Wednesday, and I was luckily, I was already over there, and I was in the middle. Isn't this the way? I was in the middle of a Zoom meeting, and all of a sudden, all I heard downstairs was screams. I heard screams, somebody screaming for Lisa. And then my father-in-law was banging on the door, and he's like, your mother-in-law had an accident. So here I am. I'm on the video call with my VP, with my boss. We're talking about all the stuff. I'm like, I got to go. I just have to go. And so I had to turn I had to close the computer, and I walked downstairs, and she had a horrific accident. She has very, 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 very thin skin as it is. And she had an accident a couple of years ago with a bike where she had She had the metal fender. She had fallen, and the metal fenders had sliced the side of one of her calves on her right leg, and it would not heal. It just took a long time. She had to have special wrappings on it. She had to have a visiting nurse come. She couldn't walk up and down the stairs. It was really a long haul for her. And this was about 2 years ago. So then this accident that she had that day was 1,000 times worse than that one. They had this big piece of plywood next to the house that was had firewood up against it, but my father-in-law had cleaned out the firewood, and he had attached the big piece of plywood, but hadn't put it down on the ground. And so my mother-in-law must have been outside walking next to it. A little bit of wind that day. She had shorts on, and this big piece of wood came down and just went right down the side of her leg, and it literally took the skin off of most of her left calf. So you can just imagine it was horrific. By the time I got downstairs, my father-in-law had wrapped it up. I didn't actually see how much the damage that had happened, because he had already wrapped it up in a towel. So in my mind, I was thinking it was just a cut the way it was 2 years ago, and she was a mess. And we ended up taking her to the emergency room. Had I seen the wound, I would have called 911, but I didn't see it. And so we went to the hospital, the emergency room up in Beverly, because they have a really good trauma center and a wound care center. So we went there and we got her in, and I just, to this day, every day, I'm thankful that I happened to be at the house that day, because by the time we got to the hospital, my father-in-law was pretty much just, he was out of it. I mean, he understood what was going on, but he couldn't take it in. He couldn't answer any questions. He just couldn't do anything. And of course, my mother-in-law just wanted me. She was just like yelling my name, so I had to be in with her. But I think once the trauma surgeon or the trauma physician realized that I was, their daughter-in-law, he talked to me and told, and so we were able to make some decisions about that. And basically, he was like, she's lucky she didn't hit an artery, but she didn't. So, but she needs to be transferred to Burlington, another hospital, about 40 minutes away, because they have a trauma plastic surgery department there, and they need to look at her. And so they had to wrap her up and put her away. And the other problem, there's all these things you don't really think about when something like this happens. But the doctor took me aside, and he's like, your mother-in-law is in an incredible amount of pain, and I understand that. But because of her age, we can't just give her the full amount of painkiller. We have to kind of titrate it up. And so I said, he's like, this is going to be rough, and I'm going to need you to be there, with her, because it is just going to be, is not going to be pretty. And I just, who knew that? I didn't realize that. So we had to deal with her there. We had, those papers to sign. They wrapped her all up, and they drove her off to Burlington. So in the long run, she was, they looked at it there, and they were going to leave it wrapped for, I think they went maybe, did they go 2 weeks? Maybe not 2 weeks, maybe 10 days. They wanted to see if her skin would regenerate itself, and it just did not. It did not. As I said, she has really bad, super thin skin anyway, and it was not making any attempt to regrow, nor would it regrow fast enough. So what they decided to do was to do a skin graft. So they had to take skin from her hip, and then they had to graft it down onto the bottom of her leg. So she was in the hospital there for probably 3 weeks, really unable to move. And then they moved her to a rehab hospital. She had some heart issues while she was at the rehab hospital. And then she ended up finally coming home. It was probably a month to a month and a half before she actually came home. And then when she came home, she couldn't walk around because of the swelling. So we had to bring the bed back down, which we had done for her last injury, back downstairs so she could have a bedroom. And there's a bath right there. But she was just, she was, kind of an emotional and physical wreck. She lost weight in the hospital, of course. She's not just not eating. She's just, worrying herself to death that this wasn't going to heal. Anything that you could think of, worried about making all of us do all this extra work, worried that my father-in-law wasn't going to be able to, didn't know how to work the dishwasher. I mean, all kinds of things were going through her head. So we finally got her home and stabilized. They had a visiting nurse come in. The first week it was every day. And then after that, it's been every other day to undo it and wrap it. And then we also had to take her up to the wound care center, and they would unwrap it and wrap it there because they had special medicine that needs to go on it. And it's a miracle. The graft worked. There were 2 spots that it didn't take, but one spot has already healed itself. So she's grown new skin there. And then there's one little spot that's left that's still in the process of growing new skin, but they anticipate that will not be a problem. So she has been having it wrapped every day. It feels like months. So pretty soon she should be able to have it unwrapped. I don't think psychologically she wants to. I don't think she wants to look at it, and I don't think she wants to have it unprotected. So we'll kind of, we'll take that each day at a time. So that really, I'm super thankful that I was there. It is not something that I ever want to go through again. It has taken me a long time to emotionally recover from seeing that, and just the adrenaline that happens once it's happening, and then everything afterwards. And you still kind of have to keep going, even though it's you just kind of feel like you want to collapse yourself. So that's really been the biggest thing that's been going on for me, and why I just haven't had kind of the space to podcast. But things are actually getting a lot better for her there. We had a lovely Christmas, so that was very nice. We made Christmas dinner here. I so enjoyed watching all the Vlogmases. I did a Christmas Advent calendar swap with my friend Sharon from North Yorkshire, which was great. It was just so nice to be able to have just something a little fun to open every day. She sent me little things that she had made, or things from her area, from the store that she works in. So that was just delightful. And I had sent her 20 minis, and then some things from Marblehead as well. And so it was really lovely to be able to have that little something to do during on the move up to Christmas. I think during Christmas week, Mark discovered, he didn't discover Instagram, but he discovered those Instagram stories, and he started looking at recipes. So now he gets them all on his account. So every day I probably get 10 recipe things from him, from Instagram forwards to me. But that's actually been fun, because some of them are good. We found couple that weren't so good, but we're willing to try them. So we have a couple of different recipes that now they're going to go into rotation, because that was a lot of fun. I had never really paid attention to those before, but he thinks it's great, and so he keeps sending we should make this, we should make this. But there's things with salmon, and it was great. It was really a lot of fun. And then we had to go back to work. I had a week off from work, and that was nice. And then had to go back to work. Work is still incredibly intense. I still am really doing 4 different jobs. I think since the time I podcast last, we had a new employee, a new associate director, and she probably about 2 months in, she was great. She decided that the commute was too much for her, and so she quit and left for another job. And then we had 2 different people that we were actually in the process of hiring. One we were getting ready to offer the position to, and the other we had already offered the position, and she had accepted and was going to start on Monday. And the Sunday before she was going to start, she called my boss and said, "I'm sorry, but I've been offered another position for more pay, so I'm going to take that." So we have had no relief. I had another one of our financial aid counselors, well, the only financial aid counselor we have right now. He is leaving next Friday. He let us know last week. So yeah, so we are back now again to my boss, my director. She's the director, but she's also VP of enrollment management, and myself, and then one assistant director who's fairly new. She's been at the institution for over a year now, but she's new at financial aid. And then we have two temps, and we have some temp consultants. I think I had mentioned that before. So that helps, but still, I literally am still doing four jobs, and I don't see I don't see any relief from that for a while. So I have really been focusing on my knitting, just enjoying it, just making sure that I do it each day. On the weekends, I try not to do. I end up having to do a little bit of work on the weekends, but I really try to put aside some time where I can kind of just come up here in the bedroom and put on some crazy murder mysteries and just knit, and just totally take my mind away. So, and I think that's really important. So that's kind of where we are right now. It's really pretty deep winter. It hasn't been cold. We haven't really had any snow yet, so I'm all for that. I'm not a big skier, and I'm happy not to have to shovel. So that's always that's a good thing. But it's very quiet in our neighborhood now, so that's nice. I am trying to get back to the exercising. So I think I had mentioned that before, but we have the erg machine over here, so I'm trying to do that most days of the week. Yeah, and just trying to focus on my projects, focus on the knitting, and I'm really glad that I got myself to sit down and do this today. I was thinking that maybe if anybody wanted to, I could do kind of a question and answer part the next time I podcast. So you could, if you want, if there's any questions that you have about Marblehead or about any of my projects or why we ended up here or anything, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll put them together, and I can answer some questions if anybody has them. But otherwise, that's kind of it from here. I'm thinking really good thoughts for everybody, hoping they're enjoying all of their knitting projects and all crafting projects, not just knitting projects, but all crafting projects. And just keep on, and remember, it's just knitting. Thanks. Bye.